10th liftoff of Starship.
T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
Booster chamber pressure nominal.
All right, we're a little over 40 seconds into flight. 33 out of
Booster
33
and ship,
Raptor
avionics,
engines.
power and telemetry nominal.
Getting good call outs, healthy systems on the booster as it starts to pitch over the Gulf. All right, we're a little over 1 minute into flight, about to pass through max Q.
Max Q.
All right, so we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, max stress on the vehicle as it continues to fly.
Our next major event is going to be hot staging, which is happening in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of its Raptor engines. The clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship second stage ignites its engines. The ship then separates from the Super Heavy booster and heads to space. At the same time, the 3 engines still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster around. 10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on the path for splashdown in the Gulf. As we mentioned earlier, the hot stage will be jettisoned for this flight, and that should occur just after the boost back burn. So we're about to shut down the first stage and perform hot staging. So let's just watch and listen.
All right, seeing the engine start to throttle down.
MECO. Ship ignition. Boost back burn startup.
Stage separation.
Stage separation confirmed. We've got 6 engines running on ship. Booster is doing its boost back burn, continuing now towards its splashdown site in the Gulf. We are seeing all 6 Raptors lit up on ship. You heard them report ship chamber pressures nominal, so that chamber pressure, just that expected thrust level in those Raptor engines on the ship. 3 vacuum optimized,
Ship
3 sea
avionics,
level,
power and
all
telemetry
looking
nominal.
good. There's a view into the business end from the ship.
Boost back burn shutdown.
All right, so at this point, we finished our boost back burn, so that was shut down. So that's the first of the 2 burns after a launch that the booster's going to do today. So now it's headed towards the Gulf. It's not going to be quite as an aggressive of a flight down. We relaxed that angle of attack a little bit, but we are then going to be looking for it to do its engine tests for the landing burn, and those are going to be a little unique this time.
Yeah, typically we start with all 13 inner engines lit for that landing burn and bring that down to just the center 3. But one of our test objectives for today is to simulate what an engine out situation would look like. So we're going to be intentionally turning off one of those center 3 and instead lighting one of the engines from the middle 10 ring.
Yeah, we did see one of those engines in the middle ring shut down during the initial ascent. Oh, looks like we have hot stage jettison. You can see it floating away there to the left of the booster. Yeah, we did see one of those middle engines shut down during the ascent. Again, we are resilient to engine out on Super
Starship
Heavy.
flying
That's why we're
nominal
able to get
trajectory.
through our ascent. Starship flying on the expected path. There's still a chance that engine could be back in the mix for the very start of the landing burn, so we'll see if we light up all 13. But we've even done a landing burn at the tower with an engine out, so very resilient. We'll see how it does on its way down to the Gulf, though. All right, so we got a couple of minutes. That landing burn start should be just about 40 seconds away. That's always rad. You can see the boost plume itself in the background as it was coming in. All right, about 20 seconds to landing burn.
Ship Raptor chamber pressure is nominal.
All right, here we go.
Landing burn startup.
Looks like we got 12 of those 13.
Down to 3, including one of the middle ring. Down to 2. Nice little hover. And landing burn shutdown. And into the Gulf, here we come. And the booster has splashed down.
Incredible flight for booster today.
Meanwhile, back in space, about 7 minutes into today's flight, ship continuing its ascent burn. This goes until just about 9 minutes into our flight. That ship engine cutoff is slated for 8 minutes and 57 seconds. We are going to see those 3 RVAC, the Raptor vacuum engines. Those are the bigger circles in that little indicator on the bottom right of your screen. Those will shut down first, and we continue burning for a couple seconds longer on those inner 3 before we hit SECO, or second engine cutoff.
Yeah, these views are looking great. Once again, thanks to Starlink for getting us these views. It's just incredible. And we just heard the sound from booster.
It's like we just got a late boom from the booster.
Yeah, we have ship engine cutoff coming up here just shortly. And as we mentioned, today's flight test is not an orbital flight, but rather one that demonstrates Starship's orbital capability.
Starship is in terminal guidance.
All right, entering the final phase of this burn. Under 30 seconds to go. All right, shut down the vacuum engines.
Ship engine cutoff.
We shut down those center 3. Successful ship engine cutoff.
SECO, baby. There we go. That's what we want.
Nominal orbit insertion.
All right, we just heard the call out for nominal orbital insertion.
right, so ship is in space. There we go. We're seeing the flaps starting to move into a stowed position. That's why it looks like your camera's moving.
Yeah, exciting to see Starship safely in space, and super pumped to see all the team's hard work in action here today. And of course, as guaranteed, it's been an exciting day so far. We successfully lifted off right on time at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Thankfully, our weather was looking good today. And booster, we had our soft splashdown in the Gulf, so ship continues on.
Yeah, ship able to complete its ascent burn all the way in. You can see some of the shadows start to creep as it's going to be eventually flying into an orbital nighttime, so we'll see some daylight start to go away. But ship is in orbit, completed its burn, and I mean, that's just the beginning. Now we've got a whole bunch more to go. So we've got some exciting demonstrations
Ship
planned
FTS is
while
safe.
we're on orbit. So that right there, we just saved the FTS, the flight termination system. That's that automatic flight safety system we have on the vehicle. So that is now turned off while ship starts its coast period. We are coming up, our next milestone is going to be the deployment of those Starlink simulators. We've got some payload inside of Starship that we're hoping to deploy into space for the very first time. That deploy is supposed to start at about 18 minutes and 27 seconds into the flight, so just about 7 minutes from now. That deploy will take place over a couple of minutes. It'll go about one satellite a minute, so we'll be spread out over that. It might get a little dark, but we've got a couple of views that we can show you to see that deploy in action. After that, we're also looking to do a relight of a single Raptor engine while we are in space. We've done this once before. This is not necessary to deorbit, as we are in a suborbital trajectory, but this is essentially a chance to test out what we need to be able to do a deorbit burn. So we'll be doing that a little bit later in the flight, about 37 minutes or so into the flight, and then we get into reentry. We're looking to get that light show and, more importantly, get that really critical data about the ship's heat shield.
Yeah, exactly. At about T plus 45 minutes, we'll be heading for reentry. Again, running those experiments with the tiles. We're going to be doing missing tiles, metallic tiles, and also intentionally loading those vehicles' flaps. Hopefully, we'll also see a splashdown in the Indian Ocean today.
Yeah, we were able to get to a reentry last time, but we didn't have full attitude control, so we weren't able to go in, heat shield first the way we're designed to. So we ended up losing contact with the ship before we could make it all the way through. So you still get data, but you're not really getting the data that we want to make sure we're kind of stress testing the vehicle. As Amanda just said, we removed a bunch of tiles, and we do this in some intentionally scary places on the vehicle because we're really looking, are there spots that were vulnerable to this? Before we ever start moving towards, putting ship into a full orbital mission to then do reentries a little bit later on. So really, really critical to get that data, really looking forward to a controlled reentry.
Yeah, for sure. As we always say, our main payload is data, but today we also have some actual payload on board, and those simulators that Starship will be deploying, we'll see coming up here in just a few minutes. These are dummy satellites that are about the same size as our V3 Starlinks. We have 8 in the Starship PEZ dispenser and expect to deploy at a rate of about 1 per minute, as Dan mentioned earlier. Starlink is critical in all of our flights on Starship to get our main payload data, as we always say. And in fact, it's Starlink that's currently providing these views you see as Starship cruises a couple hundred kilometers above our home planet and provides real-time telemetry through every phase of flight.
Yeah, we took a peek inside of the Starship payload bay there for a second. So there's 8 of them. They kind of look just big steel plates, essentially. They're roughly the same size as those V3 satellites. When we do get that view inside of the payload bay, the payload door will kind of be on your right, and we'll start to see them go out like a PEZ dispenser. Yeah, here's a look inside. So those right down there in the center, they're kind of 2 stacks of 4 on either side. And then the payload door is just to their right. And so we'll look to see that open, and then those satellites start to go. We vent the nose cone, so we essentially bring it down to vacuum before we open the door. That was one of the things we ran into on the last flight, as when we had that fuel diffuser fail, the pressure in the nose cone became basically too high for the actuator of the door to open. So that's why we weren't able to get the door open that time. We have not seen anything like that on this flight. Everything's looking good with our fuel tank and our fuel press system. So we are hopefully just a couple of minutes away from seeing that payload door open and getting to our first ever payload. It's not the first payload we've ever carried, but it's the first one we're going to try and shoot off into space. All right, so I think we're supposed to open the payload door in just about a minute and change. And you're seeing a little bit of residual gas. And we opened the door once. I want to say it was back on Flight 3 when we were able to make it up into space. And you'll kind of see a lot of that gas rushing out into the vacuum of space. It's the residual that's left over after we've already vented it down. So kind of a cool light show. And then we'll get ready to deploy those payloads out. And as we mentioned, so we have crossed over now at this point into an orbital nighttime. So views from the outside will get pretty dark, but we'll see what we can see. We do this by design. We've been launching these later in the day here in Texas to try and get daytime views when we splash down. So it's daytime over in the Indian Ocean, where we are currently headed.
Just a few seconds until we expect those payload doors to open.
All right, one more time. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. So we are currently in payload deploy prep. And the door is open. All right, so the payload door is open. We should see the first satellite start to deploy at about T plus 18 minutes and 27 seconds. So should be only about 30 seconds. So one step closer. Hal listened this time. He cooperated. He opened the payload door for us. There's a view kind of behind the Pez here looking out into the vacuum of space.
About 15 seconds until payload deploy.
Ship has transitioned to payload deploy. There we go. Pew pew. Been waiting way too long to do that. There we go.
There goes another one. Super exciting moment, as you can hear the energy in both Hawthorne and Starbase. Everyone's super excited for finally getting to deploy some of those simulated satellites.
Pez system moving down. Next row. There we go. As we said, we're going to do about one every minute or so. And this is just kind of a dress rehearsal for when we're going to be deploying the V3 satellites. And these are just a massive, massive increase to Starlink's capability. Each one of them has it's 60 terabits per second of capacity that's going to get added to the network per launch. That's 20 times more than what we're adding with every single Falcon 9 launch today, which, you know, step increase in capability. There goes another one. All right, so as we said, we've got 8 total that we're going to go through today. It's about a minute for each one, but looking good on payload deploy. All right, so we're about halfway through. When we actually start launching the V3 Starlinks on Starship, we're going to be flying about 60 each time. So it'll be about an hour to get through a full stack. But again, it's just going to be a massive increase in the amount of bandwidth. It's going to enable, gigabit upload download for people with Starlink, anywhere on the planet. And for us, Starlink is just a tremendous part of just the Starship flight test program.
Yeah, absolutely. Always getting us that data, and yeah, the amazing views we have on the vehicle today.
Yeah, views brought to you by Starlink of us deploying Starlink simulators before we deploy actual Starlinks. How deep does it go? All right, another one firing out. Pez looking smooth today. All right, looks like we've got one left.
Almost there.
Yeah, there you go. 1 remaining, so 7 of the 8 have been deployed. 1 more to go. And then we will have completed our first ever payload deploy operation. Just a reminder, we're on a suborbital trajectory. These satellites on that exact same suborbital trajectory, they're going to burn up entirely and are on that same trajectory towards the Indian Ocean. So the last one has been deployed. Starlink simulator payload complete. Heck yeah, everybody.
Loving the energy from Starbase and Hawthorne.
There, yeah, now it's empty. Looking a little lonely, but
Successfully deployed all the simulator satellites.
really, really cool to see them all out there. Again, people that have followed know Starlink's really critical for the Starship program, in addition to, getting all those views back from the cameras on Starship, which this is an external view. As I said, it's dark outside right now. The lights are off, so it's going to be hard to make stuff out. But in a little while, the sun's going to start coming up as we get to re-entry, which is going to be really critical. We use Starlink for Starship data. Cameras also use it on the cameras that we use to bring you views of these launches and also, hopefully, of the re-entry and splashdown. We'll see what we get from the Indian Ocean today. And that's just kind of how it all comes together. Like, we're using Starlink on the planet, off the planet. With Starship, we actually get pretty insane. If you're in the space industry, bandwidth to space is usually pretty minimal. We get about 120 megabits per second. That's split between our high-definition video and real-time telemetry. We get that every phase of flight, including re-entry. So it's not just giving us views of re-entry, but we're getting all of that engineering data in real time through phases that it used to be impossible to get that in real time. So just really incredible.
Yeah, Starlink definitely affords us all this capability. And reminder, it's the world's largest satellite constellation operating in low Earth orbit to deliver high-speed, low-latency broadband internet. This provides internet access to people all around the world, many of whom had never had connectivity before. Today, Starlink serves more than 150 countries, territories, and other markets, with over 6 million active customers and counting. To meet the growing global demand for high-speed internet, SpaceX expanded its factory in Bastrop, Texas, and also introduced Starlink Mini, as well as an upgraded version of the Starlink Standard kit.
All right, now with payload deploy complete, Starship is now going to close its payload bay door and continue to coast towards Earth, around Earth, towards the Indian Ocean. Sorry, I'm really excited today. We are in space, people. Still a lot of major events to come, though. We are looking to relight one of those Raptor engines at about 37 minutes, 33 seconds into the flight, followed by atmospheric entry, hell of a light show, and splashdown. So we're going to go on a quick break, take a quick coast, sit back, enjoy the views. A little bit dark now, but they'll get better soon. A couple of space jams. We'll be back in just a few minutes for that Raptor relight and then re-entry. See you soon.